The Soviets built some of the strongest and most muscular men in history, but somehow they managed to build muscle much faster than most people do today. Not with supplements, 6-day bro splits, or workouts that leave you unable to walk. Instead, they followed a training method that let them recover faster, train more often, and build more muscle from the same amount of work. And once you understand those methods, the way most of us train today starts to look surprisingly inefficient. The Soviet system was built on a lot of different methods, and one of the biggest ones was the Prilepin chart. This is something I've been following for quite a while now. Basically, the Soviets looked at what actually worked because this is the most important part if you want to build muscle fast. The chart matches how heavy you should lift with how many reps and sets you should do. For example, if you're lifting around 70 to 80% of your max, you do smaller sets of 3 to 6 reps, adding up to around 18 to 24 total reps. Then, at 80 to 90%, you drop the total work to around 10 to 20 reps. Now, I know that sounds like boring math, but it's the difference between actually wanting to get muscles fast or training out for fun. In simple terms, it gives you a way to balance intensity, the weight you're lifting, and volume, the total amount of work. So you can build strength without completely frying yourself. But wait, we want to build muscles faster, not strength, right? Here's the thing. Most of the Soviet methods weren't originally designed to build muscle as fast as possible. They were mainly built for strength. But research shows these same methods can work really well for muscle growth too, because these methods are tools. And to be fair, it all depends on where you apply them. If you use them with strength exercises, they'll help you get stronger. Use them for muscle building exercises, and they'll help you build muscle. And I'm not making this up. The intensity range it uses, around 70 to 80%, is the same range the American College of Sports Medicine, for example, recommends for hypertrophy, but only if you apply it right, and I will show you later how to do this correctly. However, you can also train without focusing on numbers and will see results, but you will get to your goal faster if you use methods like these and really focus on what you do. But why exactly does this help us to build muscle faster? Remember the word volume I mentioned earlier? Well, this is where it starts to matter. The Prilepin chart keeps you in the 70 to 80% intensity zone, and research, including a 2021 review in Frontiers in Sports, confirms that range is effective for building muscle, not just strength. Lifting moderate weights, around 70 to 80% of your max, lets you do a lot more total reps without completely wrecking your body. So more total reps done consistently builds more muscle than a few brutally heavy reps ever will. Now, to be fair, there's a pretty good reason for that also. Your body only has a decent amount of energy to spend in one workout. Imagine a bank account. Heavy lifts are expensive withdrawals. Spend everything in one huge lift and suddenly you're broke for the rest of the workout. It means you will lack in the next exercises. But if you spend a little at a time, moderate weight, more reps, you can afford way more total work. And that's what actually grows muscle. I know it sounds a little backwards. You'd think heavier always means better. Unfortunately, your muscles don't think like that. There are also dozens of explanations why you shouldn't go train till failure. I know I talked a lot about the method, but the big question is now, how can we actually adapt this into our workouts to build muscles faster? If you watched my last videos, you may remember Victor. He is my work colleague, and he was born in the Soviet Union. I talk a lot about fitness with him, so he explained it like this. Stop chasing your max every single session. Train around 70 to 80% of it and do 3 to 6 reps per set in that range and aim for about 18 to 24 total reps per muscle group. To find out how to come in the 70 to 80% range, you need to know your max. Let's take the classic bench press for example. Let's say you bench 200 pounds and you go to absolute failure on your 10th rep. Your 70 to 80% range is 7 to 8 reps. Makes sense, right? But here's the problem. Almost everybody thinks they train to failure, but they actually don't. This leads to a big problem overall, because if you think your max is 10 reps, but it's actually 13 to 15 reps, and you start going in the 70 to 80% range, you train way below the number you should. So what can you do? If you are 100% sure that your 10 reps are max, then okay. But if you're honest and you're not so sure, then add 3 to 5 more reps onto your max. Because this is the number that 95% of people actually can do more. So when you figure out what your max is, you will know how many reps you should do for the 70 to 80% range. I hope this makes sense so far, but if not, I will show you at the end a daily application to make things easier. But methods alone only build muscle fast if you train them with the right exercises, because because good methods with wrong exercises still give us basic results. But a good method with effective exercises gives us the fast results we want to have. First up, the dead hang pull-up. Start from a full dead hang, arms completely straight. Pull up explosively until your chin clears the bar. Then lower yourself slowly, taking about 3 to 4 seconds on the way down. And that's the first exercise. This is one of Victor's favorite exercises because he swears it builds muscle faster than almost anything else he does. And interestingly enough, my research kinda backed him up. What I found is that the explosive pull fires up your nervous system, while the slow lowering phase keeps your muscles under tension longer. So basically, you get both benefits in a single rep. Pretty efficient for an exercise that only asks you to hang from a bar. If you can't do a pull-up yet, use a resistance band to make it easier. And if you want to do it even faster, I don't know the name of it, but use this machine. The second exercise is called the single-arm kettlebell military press. First, stand normally with your feet about shoulder width apart, then bring the kettlebell, dumbbell, or whatever you're using up to your shoulder. Even a couple heavy books works here. Then, tuck your elbow in tight against your ribs. Make sure your elbow isn't pointing out to the side like a chicken wing. Now, push the kettlebell straight up over your head in one smooth motion. Don't just let gravity drop the weight. Slowly and carefully pull it back down to that starting position with your elbow tucked against your ribs. To understand why this builds muscle so well, we have to compare it to a barbell. And this is where kettlebells get a little annoying in a good way. A kettlebell wobbles much more than a barbell, so all those small stabilizer muscles have to jump in just to keep it steady. A barbell doesn't really ask that much from you. So, your muscles end up working harder, and over time, that can lead to more growth. The next one is the parallel bar dip. Set yourself up on the parallel bars. Before you go down, lean your torso forward about 30 to 45 degrees. And this part really matters. Keep that lean the entire time. Now, lower yourself until your elbows reach about 90 degrees and pause there for a full second. Then press yourself back up explosively. Full range of motion in every rep, but that's not the only way to do it. You can dip between two chairs. Simply make sure they are sturdy and won't slide as you do the exercise. Or just stick with bench dips like we talked about in the prisoners video. Just sit on the edge of a chair or bench, hands gripping the edge. Slide your hips off and lower yourself, elbows bending behind you. Keep the forward lean principle here too. Lean slightly forward to include more chest activation and then do the dips. Now, the reason for the forward lean is pretty simple. It shifts more of the load from your triceps onto your chest and front shoulders, and that 1 second pause completely kills any bounce or momentum. Your muscles have to create force from a dead stop, which is honestly much harder than it sounds. Of course, it always depends which muscle you want to train. Now I'll show the exercises you can use with the method for almost the whole body. But you should always put more effort and focus on your weak points. For example, if you have weak triceps but a good chest or whatever, focus more on the triceps and do more for it. By the way, we are now on Spotify. If you want to learn new workouts to listen to while driving to the gym, you can now easily listen to us for free. Link in the description. Now you know almost everything you need to know on how to build muscle faster like the Soviets did, but one question is still here. How should we apply all of this in our routine? Well, there are 2 protocols you can follow. The first one is the rep budget protocol. For each exercise, doesn't matter which one, pick a weight that's around 65 to 75% of your max effort. Then set a total rep target for the entire session. Let's say you're doing the kettlebell press at about 70% effort. If you do 2 sets of 5 reps, that's only 10 total reps. So that's probably too low. I mean, your body barely has a reason to adapt. Now, if you do 4 sets of 6 reps, that's 24 total reps. And to be honest, that's the sweet spot. It's enough work to make progress, but not so much that you're completely exhausted afterwards. But if you push it to 7 sets of 10, that's 70 reps. At that point, your form starts falling apart and you're digging yourself into a recovery hole. Second, we have a 3-day Soviet split protocol. This one just takes the same idea and spreads it across the week using all 3 exercises. Monday, you go a little heavier. For example, 4 to 5 sets of 5 to 6 reps at around 70 to 80% effort for pull-ups. That's about 20 to 30 total reps, leaning more towards strength. Then Wednesday, you back off the weight a little. For the kettlebell press, do 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps at around 65 to 70% effort. This becomes your volume day. More reps, lighter weight, and your joints will probably appreciate the break. Then, Friday, you shift back to strength. Do dips for 4 sets of 5 reps at 70 to 80% effort, with that 1 second pause we talked about earlier. You see the pattern? Heavy, then lighter, then heavy again. Your nervous system stays fresh, and honestly, your muscles don't get bored either. Then, each week, just add 1 rep to each set. After 4 weeks, test your max again and recalculate from there. It was never about training harder than everyone else. It was about training smarter so your muscles can adapt even better. You don't need more hours in the gym, you just need a system. And now, you have one. That's it for today. Shout out to this comment. If you want to learn more for free, you can sign up to my free newsletter. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.